views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2018 State of the Borough Address. Are we excited for the State of the Borough today? Are we excited for the State of the Borough today? Well, let's keep that excitement going as we introduce our new Deputy Borough President, Marika Scott McFadden.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., myself and the staff, I would like to welcome you to the 9th Annual State of the Borough Address. Let's give a big round of applause to the Bronx Arts Assembly Jazz Trio, featuring Peter Brynan, Yaniv Taubenhaus, and Marianne McSweeney. Before we begin our program, let's take a moment to honor America with the singing of our national anthem. Our colors are presented by the NYPD School Safety Explorers, and the anthem will be performed by Jasmine Kaur, a student right here at Bronx High School of Science.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Jasmine. And now, with our invocation, please welcome Iman Al-Kamil of Moss Upper New York.
Please sit down. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh means peace be upon all of you and me. I'm so honored and pleased to witness the State of Borough Presidential Address of Mr. Ruben Diaz. We are pleased to continue to have Mr. Diaz serve as our Bronx Borough President for a third term in a row. This is due to his great work, commitment, and dedication. The Bronx under Mr. Diaz has been a success story of diversity and growth. Let us please give Mr. Diaz and his team big hand, please. Brothers and sisters, so I say to all of you, before anything, Assalamu alaikum means peace be upon all of you. Peace be unto all of you, as God has made peace the name of greeting of Islam. Peace must be given before the start of anything. With peace comes safety, and from safety comes strength, growth, unity. We pray to all of you and to Mr. Diaz to continue to lead our community in this great land of the dreams, to preserve peace, dignity, and hope for all. God says in the Quran, this is the holy book for Muslims. God says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha, وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. This is in Arabic, but in English, God says, O mankind, we created you from a single pair and made you into nations and tribes, to know each other, not to despise each other. For the best of you in the sight of God is the most righteous. This is what we value in Islam. And this is what we value in a leader. We value and stand behind any leader that he doesn't divide and separate the people. We value and stand behind any leader that he doesn't divide and separate the people. The leader that unites and drives diversity into real change as each of our values. We are confident that you will further grow this community and unite it, and that you will ensure and protect the weak, the poor, the wronged, the powerless, and anyone who cannot or unable to protect themselves. In America, freedom of expression and worship is taken for granted as the right of every citizen under the Constitution. And it is the same right that our religion called for more than 1,400 years. God says in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي, means let there be no compulsion in religion. Truth stand out clear from error. So now we will pray Can we raise our hand, please? And the philosophy, why we raise our hand like this? If we stretch our hand like this means we have nothing, and we ask power and help and seek from God. This is our philosophy when we raise our hand like this. May the most just and merciful God of the heavens and the earth, and the creator of all humanity, continue to protect and guide all of us. Also, dear God, please protect all the Bronx families, and may God lead all of us and lead Mr. Diaz to what is always best of the people. May he keep all of us secure and excited, and ensure your committed leadership and success, and your faithful commitment to the prosperity of the people. And most of all, may you, Mr. Diaz, to be the power and the voice for the Bronx community. Oh God, please also extend this prayer to any other community leaders who are present here today. Oh God, may you also command the voice of the people to honor your power and to commit to your responsibilities to preserve liberty, growth, justice, surety, unity, and peace. Finally, may God grant us all with success. Amen, and peace be upon all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Imam. And now, to recognize our distinguished guests in the audience today, please welcome our Director of External Affairs, Mr. Dirk McCall.
Thank you, Madam Deputy. We have a number of distinguished guests with us today, and we'll go through this as quickly as possible. First, we're joined by a true daughter of the Bronx, somebody who's served for many, many years supporting the development of the Bronx, our former Deputy Borough President, Aurelia Green. We're joined by New York State Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli, New York State Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, New York City Public Advocate Letitia James. We're joined by Congressmember Adriano Espaillat. We're joined by our very own District Attorney Darcel Clark. We're joined by our Queensborough President, Melinda Katz. We're joined by New York City Council Speaker, Corey Johnson. We're joined by a number of leaders from the New York City Council, starting with New York City Councilmember Diana Ayala, New York City Councilmember Fernando Cabrera, New York City Councilmember Andrew Cohen, New York City Council Member Reverend Ruben Diaz, New York City Council Member Vanessa Gibson, New York City Council Member Mark Jonai, New York City Council Member Idanis Rodriguez, New York City Council Member Richie Torres, New York City Council Member Rafael Salamanca, New York City Council Member Coleman Yeager. We're joined by a number of leaders from the State Senate, New York State Senator and leader of the IDC, Senator Jeff Klein. Senator Gustavo Rivera. Senator Jamal Bailey. From the Assembly, Assemblymember Michael Blake. Assemblymember Jeffrey Denowitz. Assemblymember Latoya Joyner. Assemblymember Victor Pichardo. Assemblymember Luis Sepulveda. We're joined by Bronx County Clerk Louis Diaz. We're joined by Bronx County Clerk Louis Diaz, by former City Council Speaker Peter Vallone, Sr. Assemblymember Michael Benedetto. Sorry for the card not being there. One of our greats in the Bronx. Former City Council Speaker Gifford Miller. Former Bronx Borough President Adolfo Carrion. New York State Supreme Court Justice Mary Ann Briganti. New York City Civil Court Justice Fidel Gomez. New York State Supreme Court Justice Wilma Guzman. New York City Civil Court Justice Lynette Rosado. From the State Board of Regents, Chancellor Betty Rosa. We have a number of our Bronx commissioners. Bronx Department of Buildings Commissioner Teresa Hall. FDNY Borough Commander, Deputy Chief Joseph Woznica. Bronx Community Director for Commission on Human Rights, Kajori Chaudhuri. Bronx Parks Commissioner, Iris Rodriguez Rosa. New York City Planning Commissioner, our Bronx Commissioner, Orlando Marin. Carol Samuel, the Bronx Director for the Department of City Planning. NYPD Bronx Borough Executive Officer Brian McMahon. Department of Sanitation, Bronx Borough Chief of Operations, Chief Buculo. Our very own Bronx DOT Commissioner, Nivardo Lopez. Bronx Public Administrator, Matilde Sanchez. From our community colleges and other colleges in the Bronx, we have Bronx Community College President, Thomas Signegby. Hostos Community College President, David Gomez. Lehman College President, Jose Luis Cruz. Timothy Hall, President of Mercy College. Monroe College President, Mark Jerome. Metropolitan College of New York President, Vinton Thompson. From the Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation, we have our president, Marlene Cintron. And our chairman, Stephen Kaufman. Representing the Consul General of Mexico, Vivian Juarez Mondragon, Deputy General Counsel. And last but not least, laborers in the House. We're represented by Bobby Murray, the business agent for Local 1, the Plumbers, and the president of the Bronx Board of Business Managers. By Council of Supervisors and Administrators President Mark Canizaro. By Danny Kane, President of Local 202, the Teamsters. From 32BJ, Kyle Bragg. Representing SSEU Local 371, Danique Robertson. And those are all of our acknowledgments. We apologize in advance if anybody got left out, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Dirk. I would also like to take a moment to thank some of our partners who helped make this event possible. They include the New York Botanical Garden, BronxNet, and the New York Police Department. Thank you. And lastly, I'd especially like to thank our hosts here today, Bronx High School of Science, for their hospitality. But before the Borough President comes to the stage, I would like to take a moment to note that our office is partnering with Aren't You Going to increase civic participation in our city. The Our New York campaign encourages New Yorkers to take the pledge to dedicate at least 1 hour each month throughout 2018 to civic engagement. Please visit ournewyork.com to learn more and use the hashtags on the screen to let everyone know that you've taken the pledge. And now, I'd like to bring to the stage a man that needs no introduction to this audience, here to deliver his 9th State of the Borough address. Ladies and gentlemen, our Borough President, Ruben Diaz, Jr.
Wow. It's the Bronx in the house. Thank you, thank you. Packed house here today. First of all, let me just, I know they've been mentioned, but it means the world to me to see my colleague from Queens, Borough President Melinda Katz. Let's give her a strong round of applause again. Thank you, Melinda. Our champion up in Albany, someone who has never forgotten that he's from the Bronx, but continues to do great things. He's a pioneer, he's a trendsetter. He's my friend, that's a speaker, Carl Hasty. Thank you. Also, the Speaker of the City Council, the new Speaker, Corey Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The State Comptroller, making sure all of our pension is okay, right? Well, not me anymore. Let's give it up for the State Comptroller, Tom DiNapoli. Thank you for being a good friend. We have that new bridge from the Bronx to Manhattan. The name of it is Espaillat. Our Congressman, Adriano Espaillat. Thank you. And of course, where would we be without women? We have 2 powerful women here. Our Bronx District Attorney, Darcel Clark. Our public advocate, Letitia Tish James. And of course, I'm so happy to see you here, Aurelia. And I'm so happy that folks here, they gave you your due credit. Over 50 years of public service, former Deputy Borough President Aurelia Green. I know he was introduced as a councilman, but I'm also happy to see my dad, my father, Papi. Not bad, he's gonna be. You know, we fight, just like you, Mr. Speaker. He and I, we fight, we disagree, but I love him and I respect him. Thank you, Pop, for being here. Now, the one really responsible for giving me life, and I don't disagree with her at all. I love her and respect her, and whatever she says goes. That's Mommy. Mommy, thank you for being here, my mom. As you know, my family is a family of public service. My sister gave over 20 years and retired as a sergeant of the NYPD, Damaris Diaz. And my buddy. Do you guys know that last week, Hilda and I celebrated our 29th Valentine's Day together? I gave her the biggest, our first Valentine, I gave her the biggest teddy bear. It wasn't until this is how she protects me. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that she said it was the ugliest teddy bear as well. Honey, thank you, I love you. Let's give it up for the First Lady of the Bronx. I want everyone to please give a strong round of applause to my staff, headed by the Chief of Staff, Paul Del Duca, for all of the work that they do. So good morning and welcome, and thank you for attending my 9th State of the Borough address. I especially also want to thank Marika Scott McFadden, my new partner at Borough Hall. Marika, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Madam Deputy. Back in January, Marika succeeded my longtime colleague and partner, Aurelia Green, as our Deputy Borough President. I think that Marika, and you'll find this out, she has a wealth of experience and knowledge both in the private and public sector, and we are so lucky to have you on our team. Let's give it up for the Deputy Borough President. So, a neutron walks into a bar and asks the bartender, "How much?" The bartender says, "For you, no charge." If you're asking yourself why that was funny, it was probably because you were not paying attention during science class. Now that comes directly from Neil deGrasse Tyson, a native Bronxite, and a member of sciences class of 1976. We also want to take this opportunity to thank once again Bronx High School of Science and its principal, Gene Donahue, for hosting us here today. We are here to celebrate all that we have done over the past 9 years and to outline our plans and goals for my final 4 years as your borough president. So far, we've done great things. I stand here proud to report that we have executed a transformative agenda that has elevated every neighborhood and community in this wonderful borough. We're keeping people in their homes by building new housing units for a diverse population and setting the standard for tenant protection for the city. That's right, the Bronx is building. We're also working to provide a great foundation to all of our youth, regardless of where they live. And we are engaging and challenging more students. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bronx is learning. The Bronx's economy is growing as well. We've cut unemployment by more than half, down to 5.5%. Workforce participation is at its highest level on record, and more than 110,000 Bronx residents have jobs today than when I first took office. Yes, the Bronx is working. Additionally, we have lowered crime by record numbers, together with the NYPD. Let's give it up for the NYPD. D.A. Johnson and Bronxites, for the 5th straight year, we have less than 100 homicides in our borough. And this past year, that number dropped to an all-time low. And we've done this compassionately, with a commitment to a fairer, more humane criminal justice system. That is why the Bronx is safer. Look how different things are in this borough today than just a decade ago. We have set the bar for the entire nation on a transformative urban renewal and redevelopment. We are the new standard for revitalization. Because of that, the Bronx is rising. Yet we face significant but conquerable challenges. A homelessness crisis, public school students whose needs are not fully met, and significant health disparities. We also face a once unimaginable threat coming from Washington, one that we will resist and we will prevail. You see, New Yorkers know that their government can innovate and act as a safety net. That's why my administration has worked day in and day out on education, housing, homelessness, job growth, and urban planning. The New York City public school system has served as the backbone of this city since 1805. Over 1 million children rely on it to provide a ladder into college and the workforce. So when it comes to education, we must evolve. Inequality on this front is a major issue that we still face. Last year, we saw the Bronx had an increase in graduation rates and a decrease in dropout rates. However, math and reading scores are still one of the lowest in the city of New York. And too many of our public high school graduates are still inadequately prepared for the future. We are creating new solutions to address these issues. For instance, this year we continue supporting our schools through capital funding. My office provided more than $20 million for much-needed technology and auditorium upgrades all over the borough. And since we first took office, I have provided over $60 million in funding to nearly 400 schools. The Bronx is leading the way on creating a tech hub in Mount Haven and the workforce to staff it. Following our second Bronx Tech Summit, we are proposing a computer science curriculum that would integrate technology into all subjects. This is the road to developing essential modes of thinking for life, learning, and the new economy. However, some problems still remain. The DOE has not been preparing all of our students in our communities for their best chance at success. More than half of our students are trying to learn in overcrowded classrooms. And 60% of elementary and middle school kids were in overcrowded classes last year. And yet, not enough seats are being funded in the capital plan, even by the city's own calculation. The DOE should work towards capping all middle school classes at 22 students. To provide more individualized instruction, New York City must also offer more high school subjects with class caps that promote discussion and collaborative learning. We should pilot these programs in high-needs districts that are currently lagging in graduation rates and other metrics, and then phase them in citywide. This is the way to cultivate our future leaders and actively engage citizens. In the Bronx and throughout the city, we have a resource deficiency. We are asked to do more with less. The playing field is uneven. So to address this, I formed a task force with Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and we issued a report with a series of recommendations for gifted education in New York City. At one of our task force hearings, we heard from a Brooklyn parent who spoke of her son's social life, which is fractured by his long commute. This inequity is a common theme in Black and Latino communities. Throughout New York City, in 2017, Black and Latino students made up a little more than 44% of specialized high school admissions test takers, but received just over 10% of the offers. I know that State Senator Jamal Bailey graduated from science, but you should not be the exception to the rule. And one's socioeconomic background, race, neighborhood, or borough must no longer determine the quality of education, of their public education. We should truly provide excellence for all. Neither that young man from Brooklyn nor any other child should be forced to lead a fractured life. We will continue to support our CUNY system as well. As we marry our students' job skills with the needs of the city, we can create incentive programs that directly link CUNY graduates to jobs. The city should work to hire qualified CUNY graduates. I mean, think about it. Think of all of the nurses from Lehman College who could contribute their talents to the Health and Hospitals Corporation. Or how about all the Baruch business majors who could add value to the Economic Development Corporation? We could create pipelines for architects and engineers from City College by leveraging HPD. We should implement tax credits and offer preferences on city contracts to companies that hire recent CUNY graduates. You see, we must build bridges to success through synergy. I know firsthand how well a CUNY education can prepare you to take on the world. They're not that little anymore. Gail Brew is here too. Thank you, Gail. It's good to see you here. Urban planning and infrastructure are also significant issues in our city. We have a shortage of affordable housing, and yes, the subway is falling apart. Here in the Bronx, we have developed solutions by creating over 21,000 units of affordable housing and rezoning for more functional, more inviting neighborhoods. We are preventing displacement by creating thriving urban environments that are healthy and flourish economically, intellectually, and artistically. Yes, we are planning with a purpose. Take, for instance, the great work that we are doing thanks to the leadership of Governor Cuomo and Assemblymember Marcos Crespo at the Brooklyn-Sheridan interchange. The Sheridan Expressway will be converted into a boulevard, making it safer for pedestrians and cyclists. This project will create new park access and ensure the continued vitality of the Hunts Point food markets and the thousands of union men and women who work there. The city needs to move forward on the redesign and fund it because the money is there, so there is no reason why we must continue to wait. Along with economic development, we must also invest in our transportation. Our strap hangers are barely hanging on. We must make fair fares a reality. We cannot lose sight of the needs of our working poor as we fix our city's transit. I mean, we should make it easier for the economically disadvantaged to find jobs and climb out of poverty, not only in the Bronx, but in communities like Far Rockaway, East New York, Port Richmond, and others that are more distant from the city's midtown core. City Ticket, which provides reduced fares on commuter rail, should be expanded in the Bronx for a cheaper Metro North service every day. Other boroughs are in line to get similar savings, and we call on the MTA to bring these discounts right here as well. Ferry service is coming to Soundview. And should come to Throsnick and City Island as well. We must beef up transit staff where it counts and cut budgets in the right places. By utilizing fiscal responsibility in transit project management, we can make the subways more user-friendly while we modernize our signal system. You see, good transit provides the opportunity for urban density that characterizes New York City's greatness. Our city has a tremendous need for good, affordable housing. We need to build new units for those who need them and make sure that tenants can remain in their apartments. That's why this year my office provided more than $7 million in capital funds to private developments, creating more than 1,500 new affordable units. And since 2009, we have directly funded the creation of nearly 8,000 new affordable housing units with nearly $52 million in capital funds. By any means, by any measure, ladies and gentlemen, these are unprecedented numbers. This includes $500,000 to New Destiny Housing for survivors of domestic violence. In partnership with Catholic Charities, we allocated $750,000 for Second Farms Affordable Housing, which provides quality housing for the formerly homeless. We also provided $600,000 in funding to SAGE, Senior LGBTQ Housing, which will be the first of its kind in New York City. You see, it is up to every neighborhood to do our part to house those among us who need the most help. We are also fighting displacement and homelessness by implementing our right to counsel legislation. This new law, thanks to the City Council, guarantees tenants access to an attorney, thereby preventing evictions, and it works. We have already seen a 15% drop in eviction in Bronx zip codes where the right to counsel has already been implemented. This law is doing away with the unfair imbalance of the scales of justice. We are also keeping residents in their homes as neighborhoods change. I say this because our negotiations on the Jerome Avenue rezoning have set the tone for tenant advocacy in the city. We were able to secure agreements from the de Blasio administration on several strong tenant protection programs, including a certificate of no harassment, a pilot program which forces landlords to prove they do not harass their tenants in order to get permits to make significant alterations to their buildings. Shout out to Vanessa Gibson, our city councilwoman, for being part of that bill. The city also agreed to new parkland and a task force to identify and protect buildings of concern. Additionally, the city has committed to guaranteeing more units with deeper affordability. My office has also identified more than 2,000 affordable units that need to be actively preserved and rehabbed by the administration as part of the proposed Jerome rezoning. Now, I would like to take this moment to thank the Bronx Coalition for Community Vision for their advocacy in this rezoning. Let's give them a strong round of applause. The plan for the future of Jerome Avenue represents tremendous transformative potential. And ladies and gentlemen, whatever we do there, this rezoning has to work for everyone, especially the tenants and the small businesses in the rezoned neighborhoods. In the coming days, we will be counting on Vanessa Gibson and the City Council to finalize the best possible agreement with the city on Jerome and to ensure that the administration keeps all of its promises. The New York City Housing Authority is also facing a crisis of confidence. Crime persists, buildings are dirty, repairs are late, if they're made at all, and of course, residents are being left out into the cold. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, we find out that the city has failed to properly inspect apartments for lead paint, putting children at serious risk. Things have to change. As I said I would in the State of the Borough address last year, I have taken action, and my office has led on these issues. Back in November, my Bronx Public Housing Task Force issued a report outlining several concrete steps that the city can take to improve public safety in public housing. I have also called for state oversight of NYCHA, given the city's inadequate response to the issue of lead testing. A state-appointed monitor is the only credible way to improve NYCHA. And just look how badly the agency is handling its ongoing heat crisis. When I pressed NYCHA to address heat and hot water deficiencies, they have told me their problems are money, manpower, and efficiency. So I have a solution, or solutions. I mean, did you know that nearly half of all NYCHA boilers citywide need to be replaced today? Today. It is why I, along with nearly 60 elected officials, including 3 borough presidents, 3 members of Congress, 20 city council members, 10 state senators, and 22 assembly members, have called on NYCHA to call it what it is and to declare an emergency. The agency has told me that their hands are tied, but they have yet to give or present a credible counter-argument. To put it into perspective, the new Mario Cuomo Bridge was constructed in a shorter time than it has taken NYCHA to replace the faulty boilers at Patterson houses. Why is the process at Patterson still going on since 2011? Count them, 7 long years. And the recent allocation of new funding for boilers is far from enough. It is cold comfort to these families who I say deserve nothing less than to be treated with dignity and respect. So we are turning up the heat on NYCHA to act as a responsible landlord. And if they refuse to do so, then I call on the governor to do it for them. Healthcare is another critical issue on which we are innovating. The healthcare sector is our largest employer, and our health outcomes, though moving in the right direction, remain at the bottom of most statistical measures. We cannot stand idly by while Washington makes things worse. Not you, Adriano. We must implement our own solutions, and we are. Through our hashtag Not62 initiative, we have been working to expand mental health first aid training in our borough. We're providing greater access to healthy foods through our community-supported agriculture program. This program uses EBT benefits to provide fresh produce to seniors and will expand to additional centers this year. Later this year, we will launch a campaign to reduce the number of diabetes-related illnesses and amputation. Further, now that the face of opioid addiction is changing to include non-urban communities, we welcome the increased national conversation on this epidemic. However, here in the Bronx, addiction is not a novel issue. We should not accept a national failure to solve urban problems. When they speak of this crisis, are Republicans talking about helping the folks in our communities? This is the gentrification of the opioid epidemic. In addition, we cannot criminalize this public health crisis. Addicts should be treated with compassion, and we need more effective solutions than a revolving door to jail for using drugs or violating parole. Also, Madam Advocate, we cannot speak of lower level drug offenses without speaking of bail reform. We should eliminate cash bail. The state should eliminate cash bail. Whether or not a defendant belongs in jail should not depend on race or financial status. I say this because recent data indicates that out of nearly 52,000 Bronx arraignments, over 7,500 defendants were detained at arraignment, and nearly 4,000 were detained throughout their case. The individuals our system locks up awaiting trial do not all pose a risk. And this unwarranted pretrial detention is arguably unconstitutional. I mean, 3/4 of the city's jail population has not been convicted of a crime in their case. And 89% of the people who had to make bail were not able to do so at arraignment. We must reform our bail system. To that end, I want to say thank you to our Bronx District Attorney, Darcel Clark, for publicly supporting limiting the use of cash bail, and for the excellent work that you and your office are doing in the Bronx's new drug court. Thank you. Many people in our criminal justice system are in need of mental wellness services, and we must make high-quality treatment more accessible. The system should rehabilitate, not debilitate. Reform efforts to fix our jails are also needed. However, any new site for a jail in this borough must be thoroughly vetted, and the people of the Bronx must have a meaningful say in that selection. The administration presenting one location as a fait accompli undermines the entire process. Look, life is certainly not perfect, but we have done well in so many areas. We have put forward a clear agenda, and we have seen success on housing, healthcare, education, and other issues. Our parks look better than ever. We're receiving critical new infrastructure upgrades, and more people are visiting the borough than ever before. We are an international success story. In the past 9 years, we've seen $15.5 billion in total development. We have turned the Bronx around, and we all did it together. We've assembled a diverse array of leaders to plan for the future of the South Bronx as part of the state's downtown revitalization initiative. We are building pathways towards leadership and careers for our youth through innovative programs. Did you know that nearly half of all young people who applied for summer youth jobs last year, about 65,000 youth, were denied employment due to the lack of opportunities? If a young person wants to work, shouldn't they have the chance to do so? Isn't getting a good job exactly what we encourage our youth to do? With Here to Here and the James and Judy Diamond Foundation, We have established the Bronx Private Industry Council to create ladders to achievement. The PIC will develop an education and workforce preparation initiative of summer jobs and other job training that is the first of its kind in New York. Judy Diamond is spearheading that effort, and we are happy to have her with us here today. Judy, would you please stand up? Also, the Bronx Youth Corps continues to train our youth leaders, along with DreamYard, to address the issues our communities are facing head-on. In partnership with AT&T, DreamYard provided Bronx teenagers with summer jobs. There, they learned real skills about wireless technology and business management that will help them into the workforce. And we are proud to have those students with us here today. Where are they? Would all the students please stand up? And we also want to acknowledge Marissa Shorenstein of AT&T. Marissa, would you please stand as well? Thank you all for the good work that you're doing. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, in times of crisis, the Bronx stands united. When a fire in Belmont kills 13 people and displaces dozens of families, we rise to the occasion. To our first responders who fought the blaze, the police and emergency workers who helped relocate families, and the hundreds of people who gave what they could to assist our recoveries, this is the time I want to take to simply say thank you. Could you all please stand? Please stand. All of our police officers. Right. I would like to thank and acknowledge the brave firefighters who risked their lives on that day to save others, as well as a note of gratitude to Chief Woznica and all of our men and women of the FDNY. Let's give them another strong round of applause. Thank you. I would also like to take this time to acknowledge someone who could not be with us here today. Private First Class Emmanuel Mensah. The National Guard soldier who lost his life that day while rescuing others in the burning blaze. This heroic man is the true face of immigration in America. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by his father and his family. Would you please rise so you can be acknowledged? Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your son. Thank you. I want to take this time also to thank Councilman Richie Torres for your work to name one of our streets after this hero. And your partnership on new fire safety legislation that mandates stove guards and other measures that can help prevent similar tragedies in the future. Thank you, Councilman. When Hurricane Maria first struck Puerto Rico back in September, we worked to help the island on two fronts. First, I co-hosted an event on Southern Boulevard with the New York Hispanic Clergy Organization to collect water and other goods for the people of the island. The response was overwhelming. 300,000 pounds of resources were donated at that event. So many that it took 2 days to completely pack and move all the items, and we even needed the National Guard to help. But fixing the island's problems and rebuilding will take more than donations. To mark the 100th day since Hurricane Maria ravaged Puerto Rico, I released a 28-point action plan for the short and long-term recovery of the island. Now, Donald Trump and his administration has failed 3.5 million Americans. One of them, which is here with us today from Puerto Rico, my Titi Milagros. Titi, would you please stand up? Párate un momentito, Titi. That's my Titi right there. This is personal for us. And it is up to us to fight for the billions of dollars Puerto Rico will need to rebuild and to move the agenda forward as we help in the island's recovery. Gracias, Titi, por estar aquí. Te quiero mucho. You see, so much of our work as government is indeed a moral imperative. As Mayor LaGuardia once said, only a well-fed, well-housed, well-schooled people can enjoy the blessings of liberty. The New York City government should exist to ensure that all of our residents enjoy these blessings. President Trump has indeed raised the stakes in dramatic ways. But we are New Yorkers. We've been here before. Some of you may remember in the 1970s when President Ford famously told us, in essence, to drop dead. Mayor Lindsay was focused on his national aspirations, and Comptroller Bean became mayor and was way in over his head. Our city was in financial ruin, but we bounced back because we are New Yorkers, and that is what we do. When the Bronx was burning, we persevered. We started a process of urban renewal that has brought us our success because we are New Yorkers, and that is what we do. When New York City was attacked on 9/11, we remained strong. We rose again because we are New Yorkers, and that is what we do. We will continue to resist attacks on those that Washington views as powerless. It is time for our nation's leadership to stop polarizing and speaking untruths and to start leading. We reject any misguided, harmful, and frankly, un-American erosion of our rights. We will protect our youth who have sought refuge and made their home in this great country from deportation. Therefore, we must pass New York State's DREAM Act. And federal DACA legislation as well. We must pass gender and protect our LGBTQ community. We must eliminate sexual harassment and fight for equal pay for all women. We must value and honor our diversity. The Bronx is a living case study in how diversity creates flourishing communities. It is our differences that make us stronger. We must not forget our greatness, and we must elevate the conditions of all who live here. The legendary labor leader, Cesar Chavez, said it so well. He said, "History will judge societies and governments and their institutions, not by how big they are or how well they serve the rich and the powerful, but how effectively they respond to the needs of the poor and the helpless." Here in the Bronx, we have gone above the call of duty and done more than our fair share. We have provided a safety net for the hungry and the less fortunate. We have built housing for those who need it and found shelters for those struggling to survive. We have spoken out to protect immigrant families by calling on ICE to stay out of our courts. We have worked to uplift spirits of families facing tough times. We fought and won the commitment to a $15 minimum wage so that more families can sustain themselves. And let us not forget that the movement for a living wage started right here in the Boogie Down Bronx. We have attracted billions of dollars in infrastructure spending. We have created thousands of new jobs. We have helped new business expand here. We have encouraged visitors from all over the world to make us their destination. Our future is bright. We will stand on the right side of history, and nothing can hold us back. Together, we will ensure our continued success and preserve all the freedoms that make New York City a beacon for the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of the Bronx is strong, and we will continue to lead the way for our great city. Thank you, and God bless.
We are together. And for the last 20 years, we have been building on a vision to share our views, our voices on our channels. We are the Bronx. We are BronxNet.
Well, I got this as a paid internship. Spending my time here, I really enjoyed the people that work here. I enjoy what goes on behind the scenes.
So far, I've learned how to operate a camera, how to host. I learned how to control audio.
My first time hosting was really nerve-wracking, but I really enjoyed it because it was a new experience.
Coming to you from our BronxNet studios, 4 new shows highlighting some of the best of the Bronx has to offer. We sit down with political leaders in the district and discuss local legislation, events, and issues. See how the community and business come together with The Bronx Now on BronxNet. Nosotros features leaders from our Latino community. Meet those who are moving to make a difference in public service, business, arts, and culture. Looking for new and exciting dining experiences? Then you'll want to savor the Bronx and try new restaurants and eateries that fill the borough with delicious dishes. We have it all, so experience the Bronx in new and fresh ways on BronxNet.
From the north to the south to the west to the east, we are expanding our services and upgrading technology at Lehman College. And now, Bronxites have an innovative media production facility in the East Bronx at Mercy College in the Hutch Metro Center. The windows on the East Bronx studio, a state-of-the-art control room, media labs for production and training, and other media-capable spaces. Training, workforce development, leading-edge technology, and programs that help you share your ideas, your voice, on your channels, locally and globally. Build media and technology skills at BronxNet, and build your dreams.
North of Manhattan and west of the Sound, that's where you'll find me hanging around. You can keep Chelsea and Sutton and the Great White Way. The Bronx is where I wanna stay. From Fordham Road to City Isle, the folks all greet you with a smile, strolling up the concourse on a summer's day. We'll tell you why I'll never stray. 4th of July, out at Orchard Beach, neath the summer sky of blue. Sunday afternoon, going through the zoo. And don't forget, we've got the Yankees too. So now you know why I'll never roam far from the place that I call home. You'll never find a better place to be. Yes, the Bronx is alright with me. BRONX, the Bronx alright with me.
Para mí lo que significa la comunidad latina es una comunidad trabajadora, una comunidad de fe, de familia, una comunidad de coraje.
¿Qué sientes cuando ellos te dicen, Rubencito, una foto, ven para acá, como si fueras el hijo de ellos?
Me siento orgulloso, me siento como si fuera una bendición, me siento que humilde, me siento en una forma de que, mira, este es el pueblo donde yo trabajo por ellos. Y tomarse una foto con una persona, eso es lo menos que un sirviente público puede hacer por el pueblo.
¿Qué te digo? Cuando tú siembras, cosechas. Y tiene que ser una buena semilla para que tengas un buen fruto. Y ese es mi fruto, mi familia, mis nietos y toda la gente que alrededor. Ay, no.
Lo que uno tiene que hacer es actualmente poner el ojo a dónde es que tú vas y trabajar fuerte. Uno puede estudiar y la persona puede ganarse la vida en un trabajo. Pero uno no tiene que estudiar, uno puede trabajar fuertemente para lograr lo mismo.
Y cuando viene el mes de febrero, tú no sabes lo que siento yo. 21 de enero al 27 de febrero es algo que me llena de un orgullo, la sangre, mi piel, mi pecho se rebosa de orgullo.
There are several things that make the Bronx the Bronx. First of all, it is the only borough of the city of New York that is attached to the mainland. And as a result, of course, it means that the people of the Bronx are the only true Americans in New York City. But the Bronx has many advantages. One of the advantages, of course, are the people. We have people living in the Bronx who's from every single continent on the face of the earth, and they all get along. The Bronx has 14 colleges and universities, which makes the Bronx the borough of universities. It also has 25% of its landmass as parkland, which is the largest percentage of any of the boroughs of the city of New York, and therefore the Bronx is also the borough of parks. The Bronx is the place where two of the founding fathers of this country came from. Lewis Morris, who signed the Declaration of Independence, and Ruben Morris, his half-brother, who was one of the principal framers of the Constitution of the United States. And they are both buried in the Bronx at St. Anne's Episcopal Church on St. Anne's Avenue on 140th Street. The Bronx is the place where you have the Bronx Zoo, where the bison was saved from extinction. Just north of it is the New York Botanical Garden, where puffed rice and puffed wheat were created. The Bronx is the place where salsa music flourished in the 1950s and 60s, with a number of nightclubs and performance spaces, and a number of the great salsa musicians came from the Bronx. The Bronx is also the place where hip-hop began in 1973 at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, and of course that has spread throughout the entire world. The Bronx is a place where you have many people who had become major authors. We can go as far back as the 19th century with Edgar Allan Poe, and his home is still in the Bronx and is open to the public. Talking about creative arts, there are many people who are actors who have been given awards both for Broadway and Hollywood. We can go to Anne Bancroft and Tony Curtis and to Red Buttons, and we can also go to other actors who are on their way like S.A. Morales. But we can also take a look at the people who create the screenplays and the plays themselves. For instance, Clifford Odets, one of the major American playwrights, comes from the Bronx. Of course, nobody can really tell you what is going to happen in the future, but I think everything that has happened in the past has laid a good foundation for the future.
We are together. And for the last 20 years, we have been building on a vision to share our views, our voices on our channels. We are the Bronx. We are BronxNet.
Well, I got this as a paid internship. Spending my time here, I really enjoyed the people that work here. I enjoy what goes on behind the scenes.
So far, I've learned how to operate a camera, how to host. I learned how to control audio.
My first time hosting was really nerve-wracking, but I really enjoyed it because it was a new experience.
Coming to you from our BronxNet studios, 4 new shows highlighting some of the best of the Bronx has to offer. We sit down with political leaders on in the district and discuss local legislation, events, and issues. See how the community and business come together with The Bronx Now on BronxNet. Nosotros features leaders from a Latino community. Meet those who are moving to make a difference in public service, business, arts, and culture. Looking for new and exciting dining experiences? Then you'll want to savor the Bronx and try new restaurants and eateries that fill the borough with delicious dishes. We have it all, so experience the Bronx in new and fresh ways on BronxNet.
From the north to the south to the west to the east, we are expanding our services and upgrading technology at Lehman College. And now, Bronxites have an innovative media production facility in the East Bronx at Mercy College in the Hutch Metro Center. The windows on the East Bronx studio, a state-of-the-art control room, media labs for production and training, and other media-capable spaces, training, workforce development, leading-edge technology, and programs that help you share your ideas, your voice, on your channels, locally and globally. Build media and technology skills at BronxNet, and build your dreams.
North of Manhattan and west of the Sound, that's where you'll find me hanging around. You can keep Chelsea and Sutton and the Great White Way. The Bronx is where I wanna stay. From Fordham Road to City Isle, the folks all greet you with a smile, strolling up the concourse on a summer's day. We'll tell you why I'll never stray. 4th of July, out at Orchard Beach, neath the summer sky of blue. Sunday afternoon, going through the zoo. And don't forget, we've got the Yankees too. So now you know never roam far from the place that I call home. You'll never find a better place to be. Yes, the Bronx